Northwest Politics.
I announce my candidacy for governor of the great state of Oregon.
A veteran GOP lawmaker announces she's making another run for governor, a potential rematch with her 2022 opponent, Governor Tina Kotek. Christine Drazan joins me to talk about what Oregonians want and potentially taking the governor's mansion. Plus, fighting back. Oregon senior senator refusing to back down as the Trump administration tries to bring troops to Portland streets.
The President of the United States thinks it's acceptable to use American cities as training grounds for the military.
I sit down with Senator Ron Wyden to talk tariffs, immigration, and the effects on Oregonians of the government shutdown. Eye on Northwest Politics starts now. Thanks for joining us. This is Eye on Northwest Politics. I'm Ken Boddy. Let's get right to your top political headlines. As of this taping, Friday morning, 700,000 Oregonians will see their SNAP benefits paused due to the government shutdown. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek declared a statewide food emergency, freeing $5 million in aid. One food agency, the Sunshine Division, is expanding meals and pantry services to feed thousands of people.
I mean, who in the United States says, I'm going to make sure children go hungry for a month as a political tactic? Who says that? Except this president in this time. It's unethical, it's immoral, it's illegal, and we're here to say, hell no.
It takes 60 votes to get something done in the Senate. We have 53 Republicans. The Democrats have the power to stop anything without shutting down the government. Why are they shutting down the government? What they're doing is saying, you don't give it our way, then we're just going to close the government down and make a lot of people suffer.
Well, many local restaurants in Portland offering free or discounted food for those facing food insecurity. 930,000 people in Washington state are also losing access to their SNAP benefits. A federal 3-day trial happened this week over whether President Trump can deploy troops to Portland. It follows the emergency decision earlier this month by the same Trump-appointed judge. That decision blocked Trump from sending the troops for now. In this week's trial, the Department of Justice revealed National Guard troops were sent to Portland, despite the judge's order barring their deployment. Voters are making their voices heard on a variety of issues ahead of Tuesday's special election. Portland voters will decide whether to raise a tax levy by 75% to give Portland Parks and Recreation millions of dollars to fix an infrastructure and maintenance crisis. Mayor Keith Wilson was out canvassing Tuesday in support of the levy. We have more on the opposition to it later in the show. Newly named State Senator Christine Drazan is running for governor again. The former House Republican leader from Canby made her announcement this week at Gunderson Marine in Northwest Portland with a message of economic resilience.
No one protested when my dad lost his job. The government didn't come to the rescue when our food stamps ran out. We worked hard. We found a way. We kept going. We never gave up. Those are the values that shaped me.
And Christine Drazan says she'll bring those values to Salem if she's elected governor next November. Christine Drazan, welcome back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Good to be here.
Well, the comment that we just played is timely. As we're taping this on Friday morning, more than 750,000 Oregonians may not get their food stamps or SNAP benefits in November because of the government shutdown. Our Attorney General, Dan Rayfield, is suing the federal government over this. Now, as governor, what would you tell, especially rural Oregonians who are suffering because of this?
I think it's incredibly important that the governor intervenes as quickly as possible. This information that these benefits were going to potentially end went out to SNAP recipients weeks ago. As of October the 15th, they got notice saying your benefits might be ending, which means the governor knew, which means the governor should have begun the planning process to make sure that this did not become a crisis for Oregon families. You know, she recently did declare a food emergency. That was the right decision. And released $5 million. Not nearly enough and far too late. So think about this. You mentioned 770,000 plus Oregonians are dependent on these programs. That $5 million is a drop in the bucket for the number of people that are going to be needy at this point in time. With the emergency declaration, she had the ability to move money around. Other states, other governors have done the right thing to say, we aren't going to let these lapse. We are going to keep our neediest Oregonians whole. We're going to make sure people have access to food. And they have made funds available, certainly in California, certainly in other states across the nation. That would have been the right thing for the governor to do.
If you were in this position, what would you do at this point?
I would absolutely use the money that's available in the budget. And she can do that. That emergency that she declared is incredibly powerful. That is very real authority. As you and I remember from COVID, that creates a lot of flexibility for the governor to be able to access funds, to access resources, to marshal resources together. So that's one. You can find the money in this budget. There's money in our reserve funds, there's money within our agencies, there's money in ending fund balances. The money is there. Make the commitment to Oregonians. There will be a bridge to when the feds act, and they will act at some point, and Oregon has the opportunity to stand in the gap, and we must. So I would do that. I would also work with our nonprofit community. The governor specifically focused on the Oregon Food Bank. That is a small part of our statewide points of access for care for Oregonians right now. Food pantries, churches, you name it, not everyone is a part of the Oregon Food Bank system. And it's important that all parts of our state benefit from support from the state, from the philanthropic side, business engagement. We need to get everybody pulling in the same direction. But the governor has a duty and an obligation to make sure that she makes a commitment to Oregonians that they will not go hungry.
You came very close to winning this race in 2022. Let's take a look at the numbers here. You finished less than 4 points behind Governor Kotek. Betsy Johnson pulled almost 9% of the vote. Other than the obvious factor of Betsy Johnson not running again, what could make the difference for you this time around?
It's Oregonians themselves. I mean, every election is an opportunity for us to decide what vision we want for the future of our state. And I believe that we all deserve better, and that Tina Kotek had her opportunity to lead. She had her opportunity to improve quality of life here, and I don't believe that she's done enough to serve our people. So if you look around our state right now, my question would be, what's different? We have had a new governor in office now for 3 years. What's different? We still have people that are suffering from addiction on our streets everywhere. We still have an extraordinary homeless crisis. We have an economy that's gone backwards. We have housing production that's gone backwards. Everything she said she would do, she's failed to deliver on. And I really believe in a big vision. And I believe that our state deserves to have a leader who really points to a brighter and better future. While Tina pointed to goals for herself, she just did not have the skill set, she didn't have the resources, she did not have the political will to achieve those goals. And that has harmed Oregonians. The biggest issue today is affordability. And Tina is absolutely responsible personally for making that worse. We have the gas tax coming down the line for Oregonians. She's refusing to let Oregonians vote on that. They are opposed to that gas tax. More than 80% of all Oregonians hate it. They can't afford it. They know they can't afford it.
And this was part of the transportation bill.
And that was part of the transportation package. And so in the beginning of the session, she was saying, hey, I want $15 billion. And then that number got skinnied up and skinnied up and skinnied up. It's still more than Oregonians can afford. And in particular, because there was an alternative. She didn't have to raise taxes to balance that budget. And when we served in the legislature on the Republican side of the aisle, we worked really hard to produce alternatives to raising taxes. We found those alternatives, and they were rejected by the governor's office. She was determined to raise taxes on Oregonians, and now she's determined to prevent them from voting on it, and that's wrong.
We've seen a flurry of court cases regarding whether President Trump can legally deploy troops to Portland, the National Guard, especially around the ICE facility in South Portland. When the president announced his desire to deploy those federal troops, you issued a statement supporting the deployment, and we'll just show some of that here. It's shameful that state and local leaders have allowed violent mobs and domestic terrorists to assault federal law enforcement, destroy property, and interfere with those seeking immigration services from obtaining assistance and case management. Are you still in favor of troop deployment?
If you read that statement, there was no reference to federal troop deployment anywhere in the statement, and there was nothing in the statement that said that I supported troop deployment. So I think that's important for Oregonians to know. That was 100% mischaracterization of the statement. What the statement actually said was that local law enforcement needs to do its job. And when I saw in particular the op-ed from the chief of police, and I've had this conversation directly with the chief, he's not going to be surprised when I say this, I felt like he was abandoning a neighborhood in our city and saying, listen, things are fine everywhere. Who cares about that one neighborhood that they're suffering? There's a political conversation happening there, and the people that live there just have to endure. My statement was really standing up for the people that have to live around these encampments and have to live through leadership that turns a blind eye if the conversation is political. And that's really what was happening there. From June the 12th all the way through the middle of September, we had our law enforcement that chose to take a position of observe. And they allowed the encampments to continue, and they allowed for noise to go on at all hours of the night. We had a lawsuit from neighbors. So my statement was saying, we need law enforcement to just enforce the law across the board. So I think it's really important that we talk about, if I was governor today, there would be no conversation about troop deployments, because I would be demanding that local government and local law enforcement do their job. And that would, in fact, make that location, that neighborhood, one where people could protest. That is our constitutional right. I believe in protest. And that would absolutely be welcome. Having an encampment, being there all hours of the night, ruining the lives of those local neighbors, making it impossible for immigrants to come in and get services, that is what should have been resolved.
Are you in favor of deployment?
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to say this again. Deployment is not necessary when local law enforcement does their job, period. Like that facility allows for that to happen. And so I think it's really important that we maintain access to that facility. So it's a very different question. And I want to be really clear about this. Our state can govern itself, and our local law enforcement must do its job.
Christine Drazan, thank you so much for coming back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you.
Next, we again head to the other side of the aisle with Oregon Senior Senator, Democrat Ron Wyden. We'll talk troops in Portland, tariffs, and the escalating war on drugs, also maybe even the White House ballroom. Next on Eye on Northwest Politics.